Bike sharing in Africa. How would it work and what are the benefits? And I've got Michelle with me. Michelle is a senior officer at Global Green Growth Institute. Say that fast times. It's like a tongue twister.
Yeah,
How
we often revert to triple GI just to make it a little easier.
I'll go with that. Triple GI. Michelle,
Yeah.
thank you very much for joining us, and I look forward to your speech.
All right, thank you. So I'll just get started here. So my name is Michelle Defreese. I'm based at the GGGI office in Rwanda, Kigali. And this is a question we've been looking at pretty much since 2017. So bike sharing in Africa, how would it work, and what are the benefits? And I'm just going to go through a project that we implemented in 2018 in two secondary cities in Rwanda and talk about our experiences with that. So if you look at a map of bike sharing operations in the world, you could see this huge hole when it comes to the continent of Africa. And that was one of the things that came up pretty early on in the project. And we wanted to look at what are some of the obstacles and challenges and barriers, and what are some of the ways that we could overcome those with a bike share project in Rwanda. And I should mention that there are bike share projects and activities and companies in operation in different cities in Africa. So this is Gura Ride on the left from Kigali, Rwanda, and you also have Medina bikes in Marrakesh, Morocco. And there are a number of other initiatives across the continent in African cities, and there's beginning to be more and more over the years. So we looked at Musanze, Rwanda. This is one of the secondary cities, and we did a number of surveys. We did origin destination surveys, we did willingness to pay, willingness to use, and we did modal traffic count surveys, and the results were really interesting. And if you look at the survey results, you could see that people actually preferred traveling by bicycle. When we asked respondents, said 47% preferred traveling by bike. If you looked at what was the biggest deterrent in terms of using bicycles, it was safety, or it was no deterrent at all. And then if you looked at, are you aware of bike share programs, the vast majority, 93% of the people didn't know about bike share, exactly how it works and things like that. So the survey results were really interesting. And then we did a study tour to Nairobi, Kenya. We looked at the infrastructure in the CBD. We looked at two micro bike share pilots that were at University of Nairobi and also the UN campus in Nairobi. And we talked about things like gender, and we asked participants to share their experiences. And TUMI sponsored 7 different participants from 7 different countries. And air pollution came up as one of the main benefits of the bike share projects that were in operation. And this was really an opportunity to discuss commonalities between different cities, some of the challenges, the benefits. We know air pollution is an increasing problem in a lot of African cities. This is a photo taken in 2012 in Rwanda, but also congestion. And if you look at the congestion in different African cities, you can see that people are losing time, wasting resources, wasting fuel, and they're losing productivity just because people are not able to get to where they need to go. And these are scenes that you can see in a number of different African cities, especially as populations increase. But also in terms of greenhouse gas reduction, we have 16% of greenhouse gas emissions from transport if you look at greenhouse gas emissions globally, but bike share is one of the most cost-effective ways to reduce greenhouse gas emissions by around 3 to 4%. You're looking at $15 per ton of CO2 equivalent when you introduce bike share into a city. So another thing that we wanted to look at is how we can increase accessibility and inclusivity for transport. So if you look at Rwanda, for example, almost 30% of residents are traveling between an hour to 2 hours walking just to get to their nearest public transport stage. And over half of residents of unplanned settlements are also using walking. So we wanted to look at bike share holistically. The benefits, I think, are clear when you look at air pollution, when you look at congestion, but also affordability and access and inclusivity. So one of the things that we did was when we look at bike share is we look at what are some of the ways that you can increase the number of cities where you can have bike share implemented. And one of these ways is to have bike share bicycle lanes. And dedicated bicycle lanes are best, but if you can have even temporary bicycle lanes, you can increase the safety for people that are choosing to cycle so that they don't have to share the road like this picture with a heavy duty vehicle. Also subsidies. So one of the ways that we looked at increasing bike share in African cities is to have subsidies, especially when you're entering into a new market. But also if you're looking into the peri-urban areas where it might not be the most profitable areas to expand into, what are the ways that governments can subsidize some of the bike share schemes, especially in the early phases of operation? So in terms of the benefits, we've looked at congestion, air pollution, the cost of transport, increasing access, reducing air pollution, and equity and inclusion. But I'd also like to talk about the potential of African cities and what they represent to bike share companies if we flip the question on its head. So, I mean, African cities, I mean, they're incredibly diverse and dynamic. There's so much potential, and not only in terms of the population, but also in terms of the population density. So you have the density that you need in order to have bike share programs and systems be successful. So it's something that we don't often think about. Not only that, but also smart cities. A lot of African cities are embracing, like the next session, smart city approaches to a lot of these problems when it comes to urbanization. So looking at smart transport and digital payment systems and infrastructure to support high-speed internet, these are all ideal conditions for bike share projects and bike share systems to be operational. Not only that, but African cities are incredibly diverse. They have an enormous population of young people. So, I mean, the youth in African cities are incredibly, an important resource, and they're able to drive innovation and look at problems in new and different ways of thinking, and also to employ ingenuity when looking at challenges. So bike share is really, I think oftentimes African cities are overlooked when it comes to bike share, but there's a lot of potential there. And I'd also like to say that when you're looking at African cities, I think it's often a mistake to look at the challenges, but you should also look at African cities just as an incredible opportunity, business opportunity for bike share. So if any companies or organizations are looking at bike share and starting a bike share system, this is a fantastic resource, the bike share planning guide from ITDP. And also if you'd like to reach out to GGGI, we have a number of country offices in African cities, and we can share lessons learned and organize, South-South knowledge learning and things like that. And one of the things I'd like to conclude with is just a picture of two of the participants from the Nairobi study tour. This is a participant from Lagos, Nigeria, and Cairo, Egypt. And it's just important to emphasize that we're able to shorten the learning curve if we're able to share lessons learned from different cities. A lot of cities are facing the same challenges, and they're able to share ways that they can overcome the same obstacles and really shorten the learning curve when it comes to implementing bike share systems.
Thank you so much, Michelle. As a dreamer, in 5 years, where would you like to see bike share in Africa?
I think there are a number of cities that are really low-hanging fruit in terms of launching a bike share system. I think Kigali was a natural fit for the bike share company Gururai, but also some of the secondary cities. So, I mean, I think there's a number of cities that I think of immediately when I say, yeah, bike share would be a fantastic addition in terms of the options for increasing connectivity, for mobility, especially when you look at the cities that are embracing the smart city approach and really have fantastic infrastructure already. Like Kigali especially has invested a lot in having cycling lanes and separated from walking and pedestrian pathways. So I think there's a lot of potential, and I think we should just change the way that we shift our perspective in terms of looking at African cities. We too often think of the challenges and not often look at the opportunities.
All right, it seems that we have a question here. Did you ever consider to offer e-bike or cargo bike sharing? That's from Mara.
Yeah, yes, e-bike, yes, especially in Kigali, just because it's really hilly, and it was, an ideal location for bike share, but you also needed to have that additional assist so that it could also be more inclusive and you could have more people ride, especially in the really hilly areas. But we didn't look at cargo bike sharing, and that's something that I think, especially in the peri-urban areas and the secondary cities, you could look at. We also looked at cross-border trade. So there's a lot of trade between cities in border cities in Rwanda, and we looked at how often people were using bikes to transport goods. So that's something that I think could be expanded as well, but I'm not sure how profitable it is in terms of the bike share companies. So we look at it in terms of green cities and reducing air pollution and things like that. But it's also important to look at that other piece in terms of profitability and return on investment.
Well, Michelle, thank you so much for your time. We really do appreciate it.